Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We are back again on another episode of Lay of the Land. For those who said I wouldn't be consistent with it, I got you. I am consistent with it. And this is going to be a weekly occurrence. Going to hop on here and just really express some ideas that I think are going to be really beneficial for me and just for everyone who can tune in. So yeah, would love for you guys to continue to listen. In today's episode, really wanted to talk about a couple things that involve the military-industrial complex, and actually the military-industrial complex's biggest goyim or biggest pawn in this whole entire scheme, which is Lindsey Graham, the all-powerful, all-evil Lindsey Graham. I think that he has a boyfriend. I think that's been confirmed. I don't know, but never been married, lifelong bachelor, 70 years old, really just a freak for war. He gets his freak on for war, as some would say. He just loves it. It gets him fired up. He wants to send anyone he can. He wants to send to fight on behalf of Israel. That's the way he pronounces it, is Israel. I don't understand that. I think it's because there's something wrong with him. And he's just an evil man. He's from the upstate of South Carolina. I think he was actually raised near where I'm from. He was raised in Seneca, South Carolina. And trust me, none of us around the area claim him. He is not a true South Carolina first candidate. And so this is a direct, the opposite of an endorsement. This is a smear campaign for this guy, okay, for here right now. We do not like Lindsey Graham, and wanted to just kind of give you an overview of why he is such a warmonger, and it all stems back to the military-industrial complex. And you say, Noah, that's a big term. It sounds like just some words put together. I would have to agree with you. It's a mouthful. But you ask, what is the military-industrial complex? And that is a great question. So the just a bird's eye view of this topic is just an introduction. Is that the term military-industrial complex was actually coined in Eisenhower's farewell speech, I believe, in '61. And some consider this to be the most powerful farewell speech of presidential history, because this term really showed how the military had formed into a machine, and how everything around it had formed into a machine that was ever growing and increasing its power year over year, and trying to keep the state of America, the state of the U.S., in a constant state of war. And they want the American people to be afraid ultimately, so they can continue to get money year over year, billions and billions and billions out of your pocket, instead of putting that back into infrastructure. Okay, we are the number one spend. Our military is the number one biggest budget that a military has in the entire world. And that's bigger than the next 10 countries' military budgets combined. And that includes China and Russia. So, all these neocons are always telling you, oh, Russia's going to get you. Russia's going to get you. No, Russia is one of the only remaining predominant Christian countries left. They've all been destroyed by mass immigration due to war, and these policies that encourage war. Where do those civilians go during wartime? They come to the people who attacked, and that brings mass immigration. And it's not the immigrants' people's fault that they're getting bombed every day. So can you really blame them? It's these policymakers like Lindsey Graham who are placed in there by the machine, which is the military-industrial complex, to vote and to pass laws and bills to keep us at a constant state of war, and to keep us increasing our military budget by billions and billions and billions every single year. I think the proposed budget increase for 2027 is $500 billion, and that's going to be passed bipartisan. Okay, it's not a right versus left. Like I said in my last podcast, this is not a right versus left issue. I think that the big five of the defense contractors includes Lockheed Martin, Northrop Grumman, RTX Corporation, former Raytheon, and then General Dynamics are, I think that's the top four of those, and they all donated to Lindsey Graham's campaign. And so that brings me to the next point on how the military-industrial complex is set up. So I wrote down some numbers here, so if you're watching from a video, you're going to see me flipping through. I want to make sure I get all the research right, but over 75% of lobbyists from top defense contractors are former government and military officials. So it's called a revolving door because what these guys do is they get in and they're higher ups in the government and the military, and then when it comes time for them to retire or they get an opportunity to exit the industry, they then go into defense contracting because they know that the machine is working for these defense contractors, because the money that these people are passing and the bills they're passing to continue in this state of war allows these defense contractors to get just more and more money year over year and to stay in a constant arms race. So that's why there's such a back and forth, because the government officials see the opportunity to make so much money in this industry because they're voting on laws to keep these guys in business. It's all a machine. These guys want to put people in power, so they vote to keep you at a constant state of war. And a good analogy for this is, let's say that you owned a HVAC company, okay? And you could hire someone to, I guess, this I don't think you do this, but this is an evil way of explaining it. You could hire someone to purposefully break every single HVAC system in everyone's home across your coverage area, and you were the only HVAC specialist, so you get all the calls to fix all of these. And that's the way that these defense contractors work. They put people in to keep at a constant state of war, to break and mess everything up pretty much, so they can come in and get the big contracts, because they are all oligarchies. There's only a handful, so they get to decide the prices on missiles, all that goes along with production for a massive military. And I do think it's great to have a strong military, but I don't agree with the incremental increases by billions and billions every single year. A lot of people say that we're doing it to combat China. We're spending a lot more than China, and a lot of people would say that with our aggressive spending, that antagonizes China and encourages them to spend more in their military. So I really feel like we can back down the spending because, like I said earlier, that proposed 500 billion increase in 2027. An estimate on to end world hunger in America would be 25 billion annually. So you do the math, people. The machine, like I was talking last week about the billionaires, they're part of this machine. And so the big machine wants America to fail. They want to keep us in a constant state of war. They want to keep you afraid. Okay, that's and it all ties back together. My fiance's looking at me weird. I don't know what she's looking at me for, but it all ties back together into the machine. And so the military-industrial complex has its hands in everything, and Lindsey Graham is their pawn. He's a 70-year-old man, like I said, lifelong bachelor, never been married, accused of having relations with another man. I don't know. Am I not blinking? Sorry, guys. Is it scary? But Lindsey Graham, he sponsors bills in favors of these defense contractors, Israel, and Big Pharma. And we can get into Big Pharma later. But those are the three of the really big donors that he receives from, as well as just giant billionaire corporations. I think he receives a lot from Walmart affiliates and places like that. So he's not working for you, and these people are supposed to be working for us. And it's a shame how much money they make while they're in office. He went into office, I believe, 2003, and he has increased his net worth by around 1.8 million since the start of his political career, which is insane. Just over 23 years, that's just alone from his political career is that increase close to $2 million in his pocket, from your pocket. That's from the people. Because he also makes money from insider trading, which isn't any sort of mystery to anyone. That's obvious if you look at the numbers, but we'll get into that another day. That's why he's big buddies with what's her name? I forgot her name. She also makes a lot of money too. Pelosi. Sorry, I'm on a hate rant right now for Lindsey. I got the others mixed up, but so that's why they're big buddies. So. But anyway, you ask, well, what can we do to combat Lindsey Graham? What can I do, Noah? What can I do? So I think it's over 70% of people under 30 don't go out and vote at a primary. I think it's higher than that, but let's be safe and say just under 70% of people under 30 don't go out and vote in a primary. And with those numbers, we could beat Lindsey Graham. We could. He's got some strong opponents. Both Paul Dans and Mark Lynch are running against Lindsey Graham. And I think Lindsey's scared. This is probably the first time in 20 years that he's actually scared, and he knows that his opponents know what they're talking about. He knows that the people of South Carolina are fed up with him, because why do we need to keep sending money overseas? Because, Lindsey Graham was big on the Ukraine war. He loved sending money over there. He said that the best money he ever spent was killing Russians. That's what he said, quoted. He said it was the best money he's ever spent, sending money to Ukraine so they could kill some Russian young men. And that's a tragedy, because like I said, they're a Christian nation. And Lindsey Graham, I really don't believe, is a Christian at all. He's not for peace the way Jesus was. He is for Israel. And he always attacks everyone that criticizes the Israeli government. We are not criticizing the Israeli people or the religion of Judaism. We're not criticizing that at all. We are criticizing Bibi Netanyahu and the way that he runs his country that has less of a population than New York. Okay, why are we letting this small nation boss us around? You got these Judeo-Christians that are trying to bring in prophecy. All these small-town preachers think that, Trump's fulfilling prophecy, Lindsey Graham's fulfilling prophecy, we're going to war with Iran. This is not prophecy. These people are using you and your values, your Christian values, to put money into their pocket and to keep us at a constant state of war, so that money will go back to these defense contractors that is the military-industrial complex. That's what they're trying to do. Lindsey Graham works for the military-industrial complex, Israel, and Big Pharma. And there's many others, but those are the top three that we're focusing on tonight. And he doesn't work for you. We need to get him fired. Okay? So let's go out on June 9th, 2026, and we're going to vote him out. I'm really excited about it. I could spend all night just hating on Lindsey Graham, and we might. I'm thinking about it, because there's so much you can talk about. Like I said, he attacks. If you don't agree with his policies for Israel, because he's Israel first. If you've seen videos of people asking him, America first, Israel first, he keeps on walking. He doesn't respond, because he is Israel first. He was quoted saying, I think 2 weeks ago, I go back to South Carolina, and I'm asking them to send their sons and daughters to the Middle East. Obviously, he wants to kill the sons and daughters of South Carolina for Israel, because that's all he cares about, because they are funding him. His number one campaign donor and affiliates from 2019 to 2024 was the Republican Jewish Coalition. Okay, and another one of his big donors, one of the biggest donors, is Larry Ellison. And Larry Ellison is a war criminal who donates to the IDF. So you do the math here, guys. It's really simple, and it's really easy to see. We shouldn't let Lindsey Graham have such a chokehold on South Carolina. He is draining us of life. He says that that the Epstein files were a hoax. He says that he's the major flip-flopper, as I like to call him. He'll introduce a bill, then he'll go back around on it. I'm not a big Trump guy, but, he was a never-Trumper, and now, Trump's endorsed him twice. But that shows you that Trump is now a part of this machine that the military-industrial complex is a part of, because obviously Trump also gets millions and millions from these defense contractors so he can keep their pockets heavy. And that's what the problem is with the increase of spend, billions and billions and billions year over year for the military, is it has become its own bureaucratic machine, that, it's got its own system within government that works for it. Lindsey Graham's paid to keep us at a constant state of war. That's how he makes his money. He doesn't make his money by increasing the quality of life for South Carolinians. He doesn't make his money by, upgrading the infrastructure in South Carolina, or the safety protocols for South Carolina. I think we're number 43rd in the state for safest in the nation, which is horrible. We're an open carry state. It should be a lot safer of a state, but he wants to keep sending our money overseas for for never-ending wars. He was for the conflict in Iraq. He's obviously for the conflict in Iran. He's lobbied for this conflict in Iran. He is not a senator. He is a lobbyist for the Israeli government and for the defense contractors. All he cares about is how many millions you're going to put into his pocket for his campaign, because the way you win a campaign is by spending a lot of money in advertising, and all these donors, they do it for him. And, it is hard to compete with somebody who's been within the machine for over 20 years. And that's the biggest take home from my message tonight is we really can vote this guy out. He doesn't think he's a little scared, but I do think he's just an arrogant guy. I'm sure he's a charming guy in person because of the way he sweet talks all these people into voting for all these bills he introduces on behalf of the defense contractors in Israel. So I'm guessing he can sweet talk a little bit, but he's not going to sweet talk the American people and the South Carolinians this time. We're going to beat him. And if I have to, I've never voted Democrat, but I'll vote for a Democrat over Lindsey Graham any day of the week, okay? I want to make that very clear. We need to get Lindsey Graham out as soon as possible. He's a 70-year-old man. He needs to retire. Send him off from South Carolina. Send him out of America. Let's send him to Israel. Let's send him to Israel, and let's let him fight this war that he is so friggin' happy to be a part of. Let's let Lindsey Graham fight this war on behalf of me. I'm sending you, Lindsey Graham. You can fight in our place, and you can reap the benefits of all of the war that you've been pushing on us for years and years and years. You are the definition of a neocon, and we're done with you. South Carolina is done with you. We're done with the military-industrial complex. We're done with the AI machine. We're done. We want government out of our houses. We want government out of our heads. We want government out. We're literally living in 1984. This is what happens in all the books, all the stories. You hear of the giant military wanting to stay at a constant state of war. In 1984, there's a constant state of war, and they don't even know who their main enemy is. It switches every couple of years. And then you've always been at war with Eurasia. You've always been at war with them. And we've always been at war with the Middle East in Lindsey Graham's mind. They were going to get a nuclear or weapon of mass destruction. My bad. They've been getting a weapon. They've been enriching a weapon of mass destruction since the 80s. That's when BB first introduced this idea. And, since Trump's his little puppet, he's been able to, been in the White House, I think 7 times since Trump's presidency, more than any other leader in the world. And the country of its size, I think that's ridiculous. So, but they want us to stay in a constant state of war, constant state of fear, and they want the Christians to think that this is prophecy. It's not prophecy. It's fake prophecy. They want to bring in prophecy themselves because they think they are God. That's what they think they are, and they're really the church of Satan, the synagogue of Satan. That's what these people are that are bringing in this constant state of war. They want you to think that it is they're fulfilling prophecy and they're God's chosen people, and it's really the synagogue of Satan at work. And I want the Judeo-Christians to wake up, because I think that they're ruining sects of Christianity. They're not ruining obviously Christ, but they're ruining the viewership of the faith through being warmongers. I was looking today, and there was a local pastor warmongering, saying that this was a blessing from God, us fighting with Iran, because this is fulfilling prophecy, us killing all these people. We're killing civilians. Civilians are getting killed. Christians are getting killed. Israel invaded Lebanon, and many, many Christians have been killed since then. I don't know his exact number, so I won't put that up. But in closing, really just wanted you guys to think about the military-industrial complex and how Lindsey Graham is their number one pawn. We got to get this guy out. We got to get big government out of our state. We got to get big donations and big donors out of our state, and we gotta make South Carolina great again. We got to get him out June 9th. We're going to vote. I don't know. I'm not endorsing anyone yet, but like I said, either vote Paul Dans or Mark Lynch, and let's get Lindsey Graham out of there. I look forward to seeing him out, and stay tuned for the next episode of Lay of the Land. Thank you, and good night.